quorum, so I'm going to call the meeting to order, December 12th this morning. So first order of business, approval of the agenda. Is there a motion, please?
I move to approve the agenda for the December 12th Arch Executive Board meeting.
Second.
Great, so motion for the second to approve the agenda and second.
Nathan.
Item number 3 on the agenda, approval of the November 2024 meeting minutes. Are there any corrections or is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Mhm.
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
The minutes.
So we have motion second, all in favour?
Aye.
That's approved. So the next item on the agenda is public comment. Diana, is there anybody online for public comment?
My understanding is we have a representative from Safe East Side that would like to make comment. Are you online? So if you are wanting to participate in public comment, you need to unmute your microphone and you may comment now. You will have 3 minutes.
Yeah, I would like to make public comment. Is there a list?
If you could please introduce yourself and then you'll have 3 minutes to present your comments.
I'm the only one with public comment? Wow. Yeah, my name is Al Rosenthal. I live in Bellevue. I own commercial properties in Redmond, Seattle, and I've seen the problems with the homeless firsthand. I was on the Redmond Homeless Task Force in 2015 through 2017. The police department put me and one other person on that task force. But basically, what I'm concerned with is by giving a person who became addicted to drugs and lost their job and a home because of addiction, if you just give them housing and don't require treatment that will cure them, we will keep spending more money on housing for addicts that does not require treatment, and the number of ODs and homeless keeps going up. The more you spend over these years, the numbers have just keep gone up. What you're doing is not working. The number of deaths from drugs is way higher than the 120,000 plus OD deaths that you see. It does not count addicts that die from related health deaths, accidents, violence, suicide. The 120,000 would be like 15 large passenger jets crashing every week. You wouldn't keep doing the same thing with the airplanes if they kept crashing like that. You wouldn't keep doing what you're doing if you keep having that lack of success. Would you take a son, daughter, brother, sister that was addicted to fentanyl into your house and not pressure them to get treatment and stop taking fentanyl? I think you do everything you could to stop them from taking fentanyl. Why would you support low-barrier housing like Plymouth Housing, allowing fentanyl use for strangers because you do not care about the strangers? Is that the reason? Have you looked at how many people have died at Plymouth Housing? Have you looked at the conditions inside Plymouth Housing in Seattle? I've seen video of it. Human feces on the floor, doing fentanyl in their rooms. In Seattle, Plymouth Housing does not care about getting people off drugs or maintaining the property. All they care about is growth. I really don't understand how you keep doing the same thing with lack of success. Look at something like Salvation Army. For low price, they're very successful at getting people off. It's voluntary, but a friend of mine was in a program where you check in, and it's a 6-month program, very strict. No drugs, no alcohol. Their goal is to get you off drugs. This thing thinking that, well, yeah, he got addicted, he lost his house, lost everything, and now we just give him a house and allow him to do drugs? That's what you're doing. How is that working? Tell me. That's all I have to say. Can you tell me how that's working?
Okay, there is remaining 40 seconds, but I believe he's concluded his remarks.
I'm done. What more can I say? Because you don't look at the data. You don't look at how many people are dying at Plymouth Housing. In Seattle alone, in 4 months, 4 people died in one apartment building. That's not working. I mean, you need something like Ricky's Law, but that would be a lot more than an average 14-day stay. I mean, much longer. I mean, Ricky's a good example of that. Ricky's dead. He overdosed recently, this last year.
There's
That's all I have to say.
There's another person unmuted. Thank you very much for your comments. Appreciate those. Diana, is anybody else online?
Is there anybody else
Yeah,
online?
can I comment?
I'm sorry, who was that online?
This is Linda. Can I give my public comment?
Okay, I will start your 3 minutes now.
Okay, so I am here today actually requesting the Arch Board to investigate the financial irregularities during the 2023 and 2024 period under the leadership of Arch Chair Carol Helen. Additionally, I request an inquiry into the role of Arch Executive Director Lindsay Master in facilitating actions that directly violate the interlocal agreement with member cities. Those investigations are critical to ensuring accountability, transparency, and adherence to the established protocol. In Redmond's 2023-2024 budget, the City of Redmond allocated $10 million to the Affordable Housing Development Fund. The purpose of the fund is to provide funding necessary to subsidize development of the most housing possible at the lowest level of affordability through the use of public land and by leveraging partnership with like Microsoft, Amazon. However, Ms. Helen has treated this fund as a supplemental source for art without seeking City of Redmond's Council's authorization. On December 28, 2023, in her role as art chair, Helen included $2.1 million of Redmond's investment separate from the Arch Housing Trust Fund as additional city investment via Arch Housing Trust Fund, and counted as part of the Arch Housing Trust Fund award in the fall 2023 Housing Trust Fund recommendation letter. The City of Redmond, the Redmond City Council was not made aware of this $2.1 million funding commitment until February 6, 2024. Helen never saw the City Council's vote of approval for allocating this amount from the $10 million fund. An invoice to 49183 was sent by the City of Redmond on behalf of Bellevue on behalf of Arch to the City of Redmond on April 16, 2024. The invoice described 2023 HTF award to Emma McRedmond for a total amount of $600,000. This invoice was paid from the Redmond's Affordable Housing Fund on April 25th, 2024. On April 15, 2024, in an email exchange with John Fisher of the Inland Construction Group, Helen promised $4,359,938 in city fund to help cover their cost overrun. In the email, Helen said, "I have an art meeting today. We'll talk to Lindsay about the mechanics because I would like the invoice to come from them." The council was not made aware of this funding commitment until March 19, 2024, when Helen informed the city that the city would cover this amount from its $10 million fund. When asked if she would return for the council's approval, she told the council the $10 million was fully allocated. We have been spending it on things consistent with the Arch goal. The type of project they have been basically Arch considerations of project in Redmond. So
Linda,
why
Linda,
would
excuse
Redmond's
me,
direct
Linda.
investment be transferred to Arch?
Linda, I'm sorry, your 3 minutes up. If you wouldn't mind, please stating your name for the record, your last name as well.
Okay, my name is Linda, and I can send the information to the Arch board because I think these financial irregularities need to be investigated, and I know you guys are voting for the Arch chair in today's meeting. I hope you do not re-elect Arch like Carol Helen, and I also want this to be investigated.
Thank you, Linda. Diana, is there anybody else online signed up for public comment?
There is not that I'm aware of.
Okay. Thank you very much to the people who commented today. Moving on to our next item of business. This is reports and action item. The first item is 2024 Arts Trust Fund recommendation. So Lindsay, I'll turn it over to you.
Great.
Olga, or I'm not sure who I'm turning over to.
I'll kick it off. And we do have a presentation prepared. So Patrick Tibby, Arch Investments Manager, and Olga Perelman, who's the chair of our Community Advisory Board, are going to walk you through the work that the CAB did this year to deliver a set of recommendations that are before the executive board today for your consideration. I'll just preface this with this being, I would say, a more challenging year than normal for a wide variety of reasons. Some at a much broader systemic level within the affordable housing sector. Some within just our Washington state context and the state budget for housing this year, and most of those resources being expended in the first year of the biennium, so not having a lot available for our projects this year. And down to some of what Patrick will get into, just about the additional complexities of the work Arch is doing to weave together our longstanding process for the trust fund, which includes supporting the CAB and facilitating their education and deliberation of applications, to some additional city-specific allocation processes now that we're responsible for coordinating and aligning. So the process has grown increasingly complicated, but also is leveraging additional city resources, which is a great thing. In some cases, city properties, which are being made available for affordable housing. So all to the good of bringing more resources to bear, but a more complicated process for Arch to coordinate. So we'll get into some of those specifics and welcome the board to ask lots of questions, dig into the projects in the round, and help us think about how this will implicate the work we're trying to do through our strategic plan in the coming year. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Patrick to start, and then Olga will help deliver the actual recommendations.
Great, thanks, Lindsay. Welcome, everyone. My name is Patrick Tippie. We're really excited to bring forward the CAB's recommendations here. I'm joined by Olga Perlman, the CAB board chair. This year, Arch was advertised and is able to award up to $4.9 million through the Arch Trust Fund RFP. That's made up of both $4.3 million from contributions from members, repayments, and de-obligations of prior projects that may not have needed all the previously awarded funds. Additionally, Arch was supporting both the city of Bellevue and the city of Issaquah in administrating their housing funds. In Bellevue advertised $10 million, and Issaquah advertised $2 million in total. We're helping to steward and align awards to up to $16.9 million for this year. For a little bit of context, last year in the 2023 round, Arch went deep into 5 different projects. We funded 5 different projects, 3 quite deeply, and we had initial awards for 2 projects that didn't fully fund those projects. Those previously funded projects helped fill the pipeline with other public funders, aligning our initial awards to help secure funds in this year's funding round. And we did quite well with that this year. The priorities this year were adopted by the Arch Executive Board earlier in the year. We realigned them this year to better align with the Arch strategic plan, and really focusing on the timely delivery of housing and maximizing the unit creation within the Arch area. We had some sub-metrics within that area. We kept some of the previous priorities that were related to target populations and geography, and some other objectives that we've had in previous years, but they were deprioritized, really trying to align our investments and recommendations with the strategic plan. And the CAB did a really good job of taking those seriously as they evaluated the projects that came to us. A little bit more context setting here of how we try to align our leverage with other dollars. This was a challenging year to align with other funding dollars. The state's Housing Trust Fund had $20 million available to award in all of King County, and they received more than $110 million in requests for those $20 million. Of those projects, when we see awards made in the next week or so, we expect that about 25% of that 20 million will come to Arch projects in the Arch member area. So we're doing a decent job of securing those for projects that we've already funded. Similarly, with the low-income housing tax credit program and the tax exempt bond allocation, King County had about $200 million to award. There was nearly $1 billion requests for those for this year. And
Just from King County.
Just from King County. Then there's the rest of the balance of state. So it's a very popular program, very attractive. We anticipate that projects in Arch member jurisdictions will attract 123 million. So 61% of the King County allocation we anticipate to be coming to Arch member cities. So we feel pretty good about alignment with that resource. Looking at the King County funding, there was a significant amount requests, 84 million in total, 12 million coming from projects in our member jurisdictions. The recommended awards came out to 6 million coming to East King County. And all of those projects that are funded have also previously been funded by Arch. So again, a good alignment with the investments that we've made so far to date. We wanted to talk about some of the challenges and the alignment that we do. And throughout the year, we stay busy trying to educate you all. We in the winter and spring go to councils for approval of the previous year's awards. Throughout the spring, we work to align priorities of each of the individual funding sources. And so in this graphic, you can see the top line is the trust fund and the workflow that goes along with the trust fund. And while there's a lot of overlap and similarities with the Bellevue Housing Stability Program and the Issaquah Inclusive Housing Investment Pool, they are different and separate programs. And so we are trying to align priorities, timeline for simplicity to the development community, but also to ensure that once a project is recommended, that they have all the funding they need to present well and attract the funding at the county and state and federal levels. And so we do a lot of coordination throughout the year, especially through September and through December. We meet weekly with county and state staff to advocate for our projects, to align, identify how our priorities align with their priorities and how we can deliver projects on a timely basis. And then throughout the year, we have transactions ongoing, whether that be closings of new projects and loans, workouts and loan modifications. So that's the ongoing work that we do. This year, I think we also added ongoing coordination with the King County Housing Authority, which can help leverage operating dollars for our properties, and also coordination with the Amazon Housing Equity Fund and their consultants, because they are becoming such an important part of the funding landscape. To that end, we separate out all the different funding that we have and how we're leveraging our dollars through this year's round. For every $1 that Arch is investing, we're leveraging $20 of other dollars. Zooming out a little bit to our local dollars, because Issaquah and Bellevue do have their separate dollars. For every $3 that come from Arch, Bellevue, and Issaquah, we're leveraging the same $20. I did want to point out that there is a growing chunk of this. The darker green portion is the Amazon Housing Equity Fund. They're about 23% of all the funding coming to the projects that we're recommending this year. So they are a growing importance, and they are filling a gap that isn't there at the federal level, and they're filling a gap as interest rates remain high. They are an important component of successfully financing projects. The next is a summary of the recommendations that you'll see and kind of itemized. We have a range of income levels that we're looking to fund. Majority of those units are at the 50 and 60% AMI level, though we do have some at the 30% and 40% AMI level, and a few at the 80%. Of the projects that the CAB recommended, nearly all of the units are studio and one-bedroom units, due to the projects are acquisitions, existing structures, and so that's what the built environment brings forward. There are two units that are two-bedroom units that are funded, so it is skews to a smaller size unit for this funding recommendations. With that, I'll turn over to Olga, our CAB board chair.
All right, now I get to give you a little bit of the fun insights as well. Now that we're done with the math, right? We were looking at about $4.9 million. We're actually going to award slightly less because of the restrictions of the CDBG. We'll talk about that in just a minute. We had about $14 million of asks that come to Arch, 11 projects. You'll notice that we are focusing on projects to make sure that we make them whole, so we're not peanut buttering across the projects as well. And as such, we're only going to talk about 3 projects that we are recommending to fund out of the 11. With that in mind, we'll go to the next slide. The first of those that we recommend to fund is Loris. This one we have funded before, and we are recommending to give them the full funding that they asked for, which is $3.4 million. And if you ask why so much money towards one project when you only have 4.9 to spare, we're really focusing on a project that if they get the full funding, they're able to secure the rest of it to start the construction. And that's what we really, when you look at the priorities that you have set up for us, is that how do we get the most units built? What's the fastest way to do that? This project meets that requirement. It is focusing on the low income seniors. However, if we, and we talked about it, it is the studios and 1 bedrooms, which makes sense for that population in general. But it is 3.4 million that we are automatically saying that's a big chunk for a very important project that we believe is in Kenmore. And if we go to the next one, the Lehigh project. Should be moving mine along as well. Aventine, this one, you may recall, actually, we funded last year as well. And this is where there was an apartment building that was going on the market, and to retain affordable housing, we have put some money towards it. The city's put money towards it as well. So it is already going to be retained as affordable housing. However, they had a gap and they went and got the regular loans out there at the interest rate that's way too high for affordable housing provider to be managing long-term. So they came back and said, can we have additional dollars to support it so we don't have to waste the money on the interest rate and really focus on maintaining of the good building and the way it's set up and continue to support the families. The affordability is 30 to 80%. It used to be workforce housing. It's now we'll have some apartment buildings, that are specifically for individuals that are exiting homelessness as well. And that's where the 30% and 50% come in as well. The last project that we are recommending to fund is Emily House. And this is an interesting one where right now it is owned by one individual who is getting late in his age, and he wants to continue the legacy of having this to be providing the services, but no longer could sustain doing this. So Leo is a great organization on the east side that has a number of houses around the area. And this one is in Issaquah, where we're proposing that we fund the number that they have come in with is at 482. The state is giving them $1 million, so it's highly regarded as something that definitely wants to be preserved. And also the city of Issaquah is matching the Arch's dollars. So all that to be said is that if we do give them what they've asked for from Arch, we are able to preserve the housing for individuals that have intellectual and developmental, cannot say that word ever. So people with disabilities. So again, a great story to preserve that on the east side, some housing. We go to the next projects, and again, this is where I'm going to start going for the ones that we do not at this point recommend. Is Catalina Apartments. This one have asked for $16 million, and it would have been acquisition of the former nursing home and converting it to apartments. At this time, we're not sure they're going to secure all of their funding, and at the end of the day, they're relying heavily on the public funds approved City of Bellevue and us that we recommend that we do not provide Arch dollars towards it. Okay. Nathan, you had that look, like, do you want to add anything to that one? Okay, just want to check. Just want to make sure. Orchard Gardens, a great project when it does come through. Habitat for Humanity, it's one of the few where we're really talking about the home ownership. Unfortunately, while we already given them some dollars, they still don't have the permitting. They have not prioritized this project amongst a lot of other projects that they do have in their portfolio that will come online. And as such, if we give them money right now, it does not meet the requirements of trying to get the money to the projects that really will come online as soon as possible. We encourage them to come back when they're ready with their permitting and when they prioritize this project amongst all the other ones that they have to the state and King County as well. The next one is Bothell Urban Project. And again, a great project right now. City of Bothell is negotiating the land sale with Bridge. And we're optimistic that this will close and come to fruition. They did ask for $1.5 million. It will be a great affordability, lots of units, great location. This is the one we discussed at length during our meetings. And if there's a possibility, this is just more of a CAB's ask, if there's a possibility to give them any seed money to make sure that they really do get prioritized for state and King County dollars. Would love to see at least $250,000, but we just didn't have the money for that. So if anyone has any money, any change in their pocket, would love to see this one come with some dollars part of this round. If not, definitely next year we will be looking at this one. So, all right, the next one is Altair. I love the design. I love the idea that they're looking to have a children's museum on the bottom floors and also affordable housing at the other floors. But at the end of the day, when you look at the price point, the cost and efficiency of our dollars just did not come together. And as such, we're not recommending at this time for them to do this. Again, if they redesign it or find some other way to look at how they're putting affordable housing and what the cost comes with that. This is great because we're talking about 2 and 3 bedrooms. So they come back next year, we'll definitely look at that again as well. Family renewal home. This one happens to be in Duval, and as some of you probably thinking about is that Duval is not one of the Arch cities. And that could be one of the reasons we could say, well, we shouldn't be considering it. It's transitional housing, and as many of you probably know, transitional housing is no longer the preferred model when we're talking about the human services in general in King County. So it's a little bit of an outdated model, but they do believe that they are supporting the mothers exiting homelessness and also DV and chemical dependency. So they have a great mission. The concern we had beyond the fact that they're not in our jurisdiction is that it's a highly religious board that oversees this organization, and we did some looking into it, and we didn't feel like our dollars would be well positioned in spending at this time. Actually, I believe it's King County that's giving them some dollars towards this project, and we believe that's more for them, probably not the right project for us. And the last one was withdrawn. Oh, Inclusion Homes. Here we go. Thank you. Inclusion Group Homes, a great project organization. They're the ones that provide scattered sites. They buy homes around King County, and they focus on converting them to group homes. Again, huge need for this types of engagements. They also do a great job on putting homes near each other to make sure that they really could utilize the services well. They have not been able to find a lot of properties that are within the right price tag in Arch Cities properties. Oh, just one thing. So we have awarded them money before, and it takes them a little bit of time to spend it. Also, this is where a testament to really the staff's ability to negotiate with the state and King County. $150K. When somebody thinks about, well, that's not a lot of money, why wouldn't you just award it to them? But it's peanut buttering. Because when you give $150K, as some of you are aware, that comes with certain strings. So now they need to do reporting for us. They need to be able to meet certain requirements that we're putting on them versus others. So we specifically asked the staff to go back to the state and say, can you ask the state for $150K? Because if they're already awarding a lot of dollars, it's a lot easier from that standpoint to have a much larger pool of dollars that you're now responsible for versus having 2 different requirements for reporting as well. And the state said yes. At least that's what tentatively we're looking at. As such, we're not recommending to fund it, but they will get these dollars. They're just going to get it for a different source. And the last one is the Lehigh project, Crossroad Apartments, already affordable. They are remodeling, they're actually gutting it out. I drove by it recently. And a bottom line, when the Lehigh withdrew it based on their priorities, and at this point said not the right project to be asking Arch for dollars. With that brings us to the recommendations. Like I said, 11 projects, about 4.9 million. We're recommending about 4.8 million at this time. And it's 3 projects that we're talking about. And it's the TWG, Lehigh, and Leo projects that we believe should be prioritized, and we recommend that you consider. Any questions?
First off, thank you so much for all the work you've done to put the recommendations forward. It's really exciting to see how much interest there is. And I wish there was enough money for all the projects, but I had a question about the Loris project. just seeing, putting so many eggs in one basket, I think could be exciting because you can really get it across the finish line. But I was a little bit apprehensive about the location being so close to the Plymouth project in Kenmore that didn't make it across the finish line. And just looking into this project, seeing that it's about a half a mile from where that was going to be located, was curious if Kenmore could maybe speak to if there is a pulse on if this project will be successful.
I'll start and then others maybe definitely should chime in. We spent a lot of time looking at that. I know staff spend a ridiculous amount of time looking at that to make sure we're not in the same boat as about a year ago when we did award some dollars towards another project in Kenmore. It's a very different situation in regards to the way the land is purchased, I believe. And as such, we are not anticipating same concerns as they were voiced before, but I'll let others also opine.
Yeah, I think that the property is owned already by TWG privately. It's not a city-owned site. It's a different population that's being served. It's seniors, income level slightly different. It's a lesser service need because the income level is different for those. So we believe that it is a separate kind of the issues that challenge the city site with Plymouth is different circumstances for this. So we do think that it's won't have some of the same obstacles there, and have coordinated with permitting staff on their timeline to confirm that it's viable during the time frame that's there, and the entitlements are there aren't any discretionary entitlements at this point.
Thank you.
Olga, thank you so much to you and the committee, obviously, who put so much thought into this. It really shows, and I'm thinking back to our strategic plan that really our summary statement that we need to build more affordable housing faster. So looking at the overall recommendation, again, on the positive, we're looking at about a little under 250 units of affordable housing, which is exciting. And then we look at the need, and I really appreciate, Patrick, the statistics of what we're seeing in terms of requests coming in, and even to see that with this very impressive slate of, if we had all the money and could do all of these, it's still 640 across of our agencies. So it really does show how the need is so great. So what I wanted to say in support, and I think I really appreciate Jared's comment and observation about it's a lot all in on one project. And I really appreciated the comment though too of that part of that recommendation is that this gets this project to go. And I think that's such an impactful thing, that if we're going to have such a limited number of units that can be produced, being able to put funding into a project that gets it to start is a really encouraging sign. So I appreciate the thought that went into that, and I'll be supporting the recommendation. Great.
Well, again, I'd like to thank our staff for a tremendous amount of work on the financial side to coordinate this, sort of recognizing that there is a greater need and demand than there are funds available. And thank you, Olga. Appreciate your thorough analysis and recommendation. I think given the criteria you have for making a recommendation, it does fall within that. Recognizing that you say that this is a large award to one project, so I think it would be and you've done kind of the background work to ensure that this can be achieved within that timeline, which is 12 months. But I think that is something that we should probably keep a close eye on, given that this is taking a lot of the funds, and just to see where it is after 12 months. That would be my only good question on that.
Yes, so Debbie, one of the things that I want to mention is that when I first started on CAB, I believe the way we had it written is that it's almost like we give you the money and it could sit there out there until you're ready. And we start really carving back that idea to say, like, look, forget that. That's not a good use of money. It's maybe a great project, but if you're not going to go live and have units out there in the next 2 to 3 years and it really shovel ready as soon as possible, forget it. Like, come back some other time. Like, we need to make sure we prioritize the ones that could go faster. So now the way the contract is written is really, I just want to point out, is that it's really like, here's 12 months. Go use it. Yes, we have a discretion to extend it, but we're really trying to put more scrutiny to like which ones could really do that and put that in the contract as well. And we is a royal we. It's right here.
David highlights.
Yeah, hopefully you can hear me. If whomever is controlling the screen can jump back up to the slide that showed the flow charts for the Housing Trust Fund, the City of Bellevue, the City of Issaquah process. I'm curious about the Issaquah HB 1590 process, and probably will reach out after this meeting on a separate track, because the city of Sammamish, also being a city, of size that should be receiving 30% of the revenue collected by the county, by our calculation, should have around $700,000 in funds being redirected back into the city of Sammamish. And we're not hearing from the county on where those funds are being spent. We've asked, we've not heard back on that. The last time we met on that was in 2021. So I just wanted to highlight that there should be funds from the county made available under HB 1590 for use in the city of Sammamish under the 30% provision of that bill. And we should have a similar conversation about how those funds could be used in Sammamish going forward. We have not heard from the county. I want to reiterate that we have asked at past ARCH meetings. I have asked directly of county staff members who are present. I will be reaching out on a separate channel to them, because I really want to see how those dollars are being redirected back to Sammamish. That was a simple comment that I wanted to make. My observation here is that Issaquah did take the tax. They are able to control those dollars locally. Sammamish did not. However, we should have some funding available for similar use to partner on projects with the Housing Trust Fund and work with the CAB on that in the future. Thank you.
And we did have a couple just wrap up takeaways after the recommendations here. I think that first, I think the awards that we've made over the last few years have set ARCH projects up for success. It is taking multiple funding rounds to complete some of the projects, given the limited resources that ARCH has and the other constraints at other funding levels, but we are fully funding projects and continuing to advance them through the pipeline, though maybe not as quickly as the strategic plan hopes. We also want to note that we are doing a good job of aligning with the other public funders to be competitive for those and to attract the dollars that are necessary there. Finally, I want to also name a couple attributes that we're seeing on successes of projects. It's sites on public surplus sites. We're seeing a lot of alignment both in our area, but also across King County, as public surplus sites seem to be attracting investment from funders up and down the spectrum, local government to the larger funders and the corporate funders. Amazon support is critical to advance projects, especially at the 50, 60 AMI levels and above, because those are debt programs, but it does provide a valuable gap. And a strong sponsor is really important, to have the staff capacity to do the very challenging work, the financial strength to attract capital and deploy the guarantees that are needed for these 50, 100, $200 million projects. That becomes very important. And finally, the challenges that are out there are, we're still at near peak construction costs, while financing costs, interest rates, the cost of capital for the tax credit equity are very challenging. So there are gaps, and it is more public dollars are needed in order to help advance projects and deliver the same amount of units. So that's kind of round specific takeaways, and I'll let Lindsay take over here to wrap us up.
Thanks. Yeah, just pulling it back up to the big picture. You all have heard me say the trust fund is how it's been the most productive strategy for affordable housing in East King County for the last 30 years. It's really important. We also accomplish a lot through inclusionary and incentive programs, but this is the big production tool. And this just really illustrates for me, again, why we emphasize in our strategic plan that we have to be talking about funding strategies at the state and regional level. And we do have to look internally as ARCH on how we can be most efficient with our processes and the resources that we have. So as we've showed you, like the increasing complexities that we are navigating, I think it's timely that we're going to be taking on this organizational study to look at how we're set up and structured to advance our mission. So just highlighting those opportunities into the next year and appreciating your support for the plan. So with that, I think we're ready to, if there's not any additional questions for CAB, then we'd be happy to entertain a motion to approve the recommendations.
With no further questions, we can move on. anyone's willing to put forward a motion to accept the 2024 Arts Trust Fund recommendations?
So moved.
Second, Dobie.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? All in favor? Oh,
Sorry, no questions. I just wanted to express my profound thanks also to the CAB. This is extraordinary work and it's hard work anytime you have to make tough choices. So just grateful for all that you do. And also a huge thanks to the staff for putting all this together and getting us to the finish line. So I will be supporting this. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, so have a motion second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Hi.
Any opposed? Doesn't sound like it. Okay. Nathan?
One procedural question. So this is the board's recommendation to all the city councils, right? Could you just make a quick statement about what happens next?
Correct. So we'll be packaging up your approval of the recommendations in a memo that we'll send back to you to take to your city councils. And then we'll be reaching out to schedule those council approvals, ideally in the first quarter. We are always happy to come and give presentations and talk about the recommendations if that's needed. And we talked this year about whether there's any other opportunities to have a convening or some kind of event that would be more of a singular type of gathering to talk about the project. So we'll come back to the board with more on that. But in the meantime, by the interlocal, we do have to get each council's approval. So.
And what's the deadline on that, Lindsay, that you looking for?
Well, first quarter is our goal. Oftentimes, due to just busy council calendars, that ends up spilling into second quarter. But if we can get it done first quarter, that's ideal for us because then we can move on and kind of do other work.
Okay, so look out for a memo from Art and try and get those on council agendas as soon as possible. And first quarter next year, I think you take that. Okay, next item of business is elections for the board chair and vice chair. So I believe the procedure for this is, are there any, start with nominations, I guess, for board chair? Thank you, Olga. Are there any nominations for board chair? What is it here?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I first of all want to thank Carol Helen for serving the last 2 years. I know in the bylaws it says 1 year. I know we also had a practice of sometimes when you're the chair of a group, it takes a year to really feel like you got it. So 2 years is a great thing too. And Debbie, thank you so much for filling in as vice chair and appropriately been getting the chair to these meetings. So really appreciate stepping in on that. I know everybody has busy schedules. So with that, I would like for consideration, I think if we're getting a slate of candidates, I would like to suggest and nominate Nathan McCommon from the city of Bellevue for chair.
Second.
Does he accept the nomination? Hazard pay them all.
So
You
procedure.
didn't answer the question, folks.
There's no hazard.
I thought there would be more nominations. And Kurt, you hit the trigger really fast there.
So we have a nomination, motion second. Are there any other nominations before we vote on the nomination before us?
Yes, Wally.
Okay, you accept, all right. Need to vote you into that. Run out the door.
You get screaming out.
Resignation is the next motion.
With no further nominations, there's the motion second on the floor. All in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Congratulations, Nathan, you are the new board chair, and I would like to echo Kyle's comments, thanking Carol so much for all the work she's done on the Arch Board, representing Arch over the last 2 years. She's done a great job, and sorry she's not here today to hear those comments. So next, vice chair, any nominations for vice chair? Been pretty tense in here.
So I'm My understanding is, Deborah, you might be willing to do this again, so I'd like to move honoring Deborah Bent as the vice chair.
Second.
I'm sorry, who was the second?
Scott Newcastle.
So we have a motion second for me, and I'm really happy to do that. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, have a motion second, so all in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Right. Well, thank you very much for that nomination. I'm happy to serve in that role and look forward to working with Nathan and the rest of the board next year. So thank you. So moving on to other business, Lindsay, verbal updates. We have a couple here.
Yeah, I've got a couple verbal updates and then wanted to make some space available if there are any other updates from other board members. Just one quick update on our governance study. We did put out an RFP for consultants and we got a few proposals. So we're excited that we got that response, and the task force plans to conduct interviews with those firms in January. So hopefully we'll come back to you around February with someone who's going to help us through that really important study. Second update on our work around legislative priorities. We are going to just have a quick check-in and convene with our members next week ahead of the session to see where you all landed with your legislative agendas, try to identify any alignment and priorities and opportunities for ARCH to serve in that coordination role, even as we have not yet staffed up in that capacity, but doing what we can. So any questions about that?
Lindsay, would it be helpful, so outside of that meeting, would you like cities to send our legislative agendas that have, if and when they've been adopted, to anyone in particular, or is there any next steps that you need other than that meeting?
I believe we've been able to track them down.
I've hunted them down, only when we don't have his medallion.
We're working on it.
Okay, okay, great. If there's any context you want us to know about around the discussions and how that process went, that's always helpful too. Great, and with that, I think there might just be a couple of announcements folks might want to share. I see Simon in the room and just want to give you a moment.
Yeah, thanks, Lindsay, appreciate it. I am actually stepping down and will be leaving King County. January 3rd will be my official last day with the county. And great news that Sonari Marshall, which some of you in this room know, I know Lindsay, you know Sonari as well, will be stepping up as the acting division director for housing and community development for the county. She's had years and years in policy work, not only on local level, but certainly on the federal level as well. She's well known in the community, and I think she's going to do a phenomenal job, and she's going to lead a phenomenal team. I will be transitioning starting January 6th, stepping into the deputy CEO role for the Regional Homelessness Authority. And I look forward to ensuring that organization steps up to the plate for our taxpayers, and more importantly, for those who are finding themselves unsheltered.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to both.
And Sonari is online, so just wanted to welcome her. She has, I think, been attended the board in the past in an interim capacity, so not new to ARCH.
Yeah, thank you. I'm looking forward to working with y'all.
Yeah.
Us too, thank you.
I also wondered, David, if you wanted to just share an update. You were so generous with your time to share about the middle housing recommendations coming out of Sammamish. So do you have any updates you want to share on that?
Sure, yeah. We are extremely happy to announce, I guess, that we have full adoption of our comprehensive plan, pending certification, obviously, from PSRC. We also have full adoption of all of our middle housing regulations. We're in compliance with all recent state legislation. We have also added a middle housing affordability requirement to all new housing starts in the city. And we'll be working in the new year on setting the fee, amending our fee schedule, and setting resolution to establish a policy for how to spend dollars collected. We will be reaching out to those cities that have programs. I think there are many lessons learned that we're going to want to ask about because we've heard quite a bit from the community and from our planning commission and council that any dollars collected should be spent locally. However, if there are not adequate funds collected, it's kind of hard to spend it locally. So what do we do as an alternative? We're looking at all that, and we're hopeful to have the fee established by the end of the first quarter of 25, along with resolution setting the policy about how to hold the dollars and how to spend the dollars. It's a huge lift. I can't say enough about our consultant framework. They've been absolutely wonderful in helping us get this across the finish line, and really appreciate the community participation in this. Not everybody agrees all the time, and we've tried to really find a solution that meets the needs of our community and also, hits the underlying direction of trying to see smaller homes that are just simply by way of their size more affordable be built in the community. So we are continuing to try to drive towards homes in the range of 2,000 to 1,000 square feet, and are really hopeful that many of the policy changes, code changes, and program changes that we are making will result in a larger number of smaller homes being built in the city, because we have a deficit in that category. So really happy to announce that, and happy to now go on 2 weeks of vacation and knowing that this is all done.
Congratulations. Fantastic.
Just wanted to share quickly, we passed our legislative agenda earlier this month. Happy to report that we also included adoption of the ARCH legislative agenda as part of ours. And then a couple things specific to ARCH on there that I think would be interesting to see if other cities take a similar route. Council wanted to include supporting efforts by the legislature for statewide tenant protections. I know we used ARCH's recommendations to help pass those recently in Woodinville, so excited to see if that goes anywhere at the state level. We also have increased ownership opportunities through condo development and increased state investment in emergency and transitional housing. So a little bit more in this space than Woodinville has done in the past. So I'm happy to see that council is excited about a lot of the work that's taking place here.
Any other updates?
Sure. So Tuesday night, Pine Hills Council approved the 25-26 ARCH budget work program and stayed. So
that's great.
Good. A couple months ago, we'd been kind of 50-50 on it. So
seems like a great note to end on.
Let's reopen the chair vote.
Congratulations.
Well, if there are no further updates, I think it's been a great year for ARCH. Working through ARCH has been a lot of work done in many areas, and I look forward to working with everybody next year. I think it's going to be another busy year next year as well. So thank you. So no further business. Meeting adjourned at 9:55.